Beloved TV personality, puppeteer, musician, writer, producer, and Presbyterian minister Fred Rogers' life story is immortalized in the film A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Directed by Marielle Heller, this film tells the story of a cynical reporter played by Rhys, who was assigned by Esquire magazine to profile the children's television icon portrayed by American treasure Tom Hanks. While not quite a biopic and not quite a true story, this film attempts to capture the impact of the message of kindness, which was often taught by Mr. Rogers. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and this is Leaving the Theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and I have some thoughts. This movie was great. It was not what I expected whatsoever. I thought I was about to watch a Mr. Rogers biopic, and that is not what this movie is at all. This movie essentially is a Mr. Rogers legend that is inspired by a true story. So the movie follows a cynical reporter who is assigned to Mr. Rogers to do a feature on him. And in this version, Mr. Rogers is, it's still, by all accounts, the actual Mr. Rogers that you've come to know. But this incident, this scenario did not actually take place. So what actually happened, I believe there was a scenario in which he interacted with a reporter. But in this scenario, Mr. Rogers is kind of on a mission to help this reporter. And it's by no means this movie has a lot of heart. It's by no means a movie in which it doesn't feel biopic-y. Like, there's elements that are all there, but they really wanted to basically give a fictionalized version of Mr. Rogers an opportunity to help someone in the real world in this movie. And I know that may sound confusing, but I don't want people going into this thinking that they're about to see a story that is real. But that's kind of the magic of this movie, because what they did was they studied a scenario. They studied Mr. Rogers. They studied his mannerisms. They studied who he is as a human. They study all the things that he would do and would say, and they drop him in this scenario with this reporter. So I don't want to say too much because watching it unfold is just brilliant. It's a very quiet movie, muted at times. Gives you a lot of they give you a lot of reenactments of real Mr. Rogers scenarios, like when he went on the Oprah show, when he went on Arsenio Hall. They give you all of these little Mr. Rogers nuggets, if you will. And it all adds to the texture of this character that Tom Hanks is playing. Whew, out of breath. Went up some stairs. What a nightmare. Gotta lose weight. Anyway, it all adds to the texture. Now, watching this, there were several times in the movie where I teared up. And again, it's a quiet movie because what they want to show you in the movie, what they're trying to show you in the movie is a man who's not really talking about his feelings and not processing his feelings well, and then showing how Fred Rogers uses all of his experience in teaching and being on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, all of those techniques that he's using in order to get this man to open up. It's really hard for me to say more than that without just spilling the beans on the entire movie. So let me just say a couple things. One, brilliantly written, brilliantly directed. I believe the director's name is Marielle Heather, who also did another movie called Can You Ever Forgive Me, which I have not seen but heard great things about. Yeah, her name is Marielle Heather, starring American treasure Tom Hanks. And boy, oh boy, Tom Hanks is going to get nominated for an Oscar and probably will win his third. I gotta be honest with you. Brilliant in this movie. Don't know whose performance this year is going to top his. Brilliant in this movie. There's going to be at least 5 nominations coming out of this movie. I think 3 acting nominations, 1 Best Picture nomination, and probably 1 directing nomination. If this actually happens, you can come here first. The movie is good. You can take your kids. Now, it's safe for you to take your kids, but I don't know if they'll enjoy it because it's slow. It's a slow movie, a lot of slow moments, a lot of muted moments. Doesn't make it bad. Couldn't stop watching it because, and normally I'm a guy that likes action, but if you want to go to a movie and you want to feel some heart, you want to feel some emotions, this is definitely the movie that you want to go see. Man, I'm still thinking about it and thinking about what a great job Tom Hanks did. What a great job Matthew Rhys, who is the reporter in this movie, he did. He really goes on a journey in this movie. And I thought they did a great job of showing how he feels, showing how he took the journey, showing how he's cynical about Mr. Rogers first. And that's one of the parts that I liked about it, was that it really, and I walking into this movie, I was prepared to be like, this is corny. I never watched Mr. Rogers as a kid. Always changed the channel when it came on. Makes me wish that I didn't, because sitting there, I was just like, wow, this was the stuff he was saying on that show. This is brilliant. Like, this is stuff that was really helpful. He makes you feel okay about your feelings and all this stuff. And it was making me tear up in the theater. He starts talking about anger. You know, I have issues with anger, and he's like talking about like how you can handle it, all those things. And I get it. It was an actor. It was Tom Hanks saying it, but it was just still a moment where I was just like, man, this dude is like true ministry happening in this movie. But Matthew Rhys did a great job. That's the reporter. Chris Cooper plays Matthew Rhys' father, who has an estranged relationship with Matthew Rhys. Brilliant. I think he's probably going to get nominated, especially for one particular scene that he was in there. Susan Kelechi Watson, brilliant. Oh my goodness, brilliant. She's from This Is Us. She plays Randall's spouse in this movie. I said spouse. Randall's wife in this movie. I mean, in This Is Us. But in this movie, she plays the wife of Matthew Rhys. Brilliant acting, again, all across the board. Just really good movie. Definitely go see it. I would give it 4 stars. 4 of 5 stars. Fantastic film. I would watch it again. Definitely in my feels about it. But yeah, get ready for when you watch it, because it's not, they do a lot of things. They kind of make it like it's one long episode of Mr. Rogers in a way, like a feature-length episode of Mr. Rogers, which I think was a brilliant touch, because what better way to show the impact of Mr. Rogers than by, allowing him to be shown in a way that was true to him and true to the impact that he had on everyone around him, which obviously, I wasn't a fan of the show, any of that. I've just seen this movie and I'm already impacted. So fantastic. And with that, I am back at my car. So you know what that means. It means I have to turn to my book and get my credits going. So with that, leaving the theater's production of OhitsBigRon Studios. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can get updates about this show and other OhitsBigRon Studio shows by following me on Twitter and Instagram at OhitsBigRon. That's at OhitsBigRon. If you like this podcast, check out our sister podcast, Time Well Spent. This is the 4th episode of this show, so please help us out by going on Apple Podcasts and giving us a 5-star review, 5-star rating, and a stellar review. That's how people find the show. Leaving the theater, we'll be back soon. See you at the movies.